All right, let's get going. Good morning, everybody. Today is day 33, Monday, July 17th for our Rankin Technical College online AWD 1100 C# programming class. Today's students are taking the chapters 1 through 16, really 14, 15, and 16 hands-on test. The test was emailed to you this morning. I'm going to go over it right now as soon as my clock behind me stops making noise. So it was distributed this morning. I'm going to explain it right now. You will take it today and turn it in by midnight tonight. Give that a second here. All right, one of the things it says here is please watch today's video for some test hints. I am going to give you some in just a moment. All right, tomorrow, now last week, I think it was Thursday, it could have been, I guess it was Wednesday probably, we went over chapter 17, which was on file input output. It was either Wednesday or Thursday, I believe it was Wednesday. Tomorrow we'll go over chapter 18, which is on link. And LINQ stands for Language Integrated Query. Don't worry about that right now. We will talk about it tomorrow. The lecture will take it probably at least the first hour, and then we'll go through some examples of how to use LINQ. Then on Wednesday, we're going to go through some of the examples from the book of the labs and the projects for chapters 17 and 18. So finally, as it says on here, please remember all the work for chapters 12 through 16 was due yesterday, July 16th. So if you haven't turned in anything yet, please turn it in as soon as possible. I mean, this is getting very tough. I try to put aside some time on Sundays to grade, and then when no one turns anything in, it frustrates me as well. All right. Your chapter 17 and 18 work will be due a week from yesterday or Sunday, July 23rd. All right. So with that said, let's do it this way. And that is, I am going to go over all the tests. I am going to give you some hints, etc. But just to show you, I'm going to run it. Now, this is my test right here. I've already written it. So you'll notice in here we have what? 1, 2, 3 labels, 2 text boxes, 2 radio buttons, and 2 buttons. Those are all inside of a group box. All right. Then inside of another group box, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 labels, and all of them right now are empty. And we have 2 buttons. You'll notice I've also worked with the enabled property so that when this program is running, notice the make payment button. Until I've created a loan, the make payment button is disabled. I'd like you to try to write yours like this as well. Now it's like, well, what if I try and I can't do it? Just give it a try. Basically, all you want to say is, pretty much like when you click clear or when you in your form load, you'll want to say button BTN make payment dot enabled equal false. That's all you have to do. Then once you create a loan, you can now say BTN make payment dot enabled equal true. All right, you'll see a little bit more of this in just a second. All right, so assume I come in here and I don't put in a name and I click create loan. Well, you'll notice I get no name input. No name inputted in the associated text box right there. All right, so I'm going to come in here, I'm going to put in a loan or a name for a loan. Let's say Dad loan me $1,000. All right, I'm just making this up. All right, now if I click create loan now, notice there's not an amount. Even though it's up here, it's not here in the amount text box. So I click create loan again and I get no amount input. This said no name input previously. Now it says no amount input, no amount in associated text box. All right, so you'll notice that that's still disabled. All right. Now, if I do come in here and I put in $1,000 and I click create loan, I'm still going to get an error because it says, hey, you didn't pick one of the two loan types. It says neither loan type radio button was checked. All right. So again, I'm stuck. But now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click short-term loan and I'm going to click create loan and watch what happens to that button. All right. Now you'll notice that that button is no longer disabled. All right. Probably I should have disabled these now, or at least this one, the create loan, because create loan doesn't make sense. I've already created one. So I probably should have disabled that one. All right. But what our requirements say is on a short-term loan, every time you make a payment, you're knocking $450 off of what you owed on the loan. So $1,000, make payment. So notice, Dad loaned me $1,000, short-term loan of $1,000. After the last payment, the loan is down to $550, which, as you know, is 1,000 minus 450. All right. But after you do that, you've got to add interest. So every time you make a payment, unless you pay everything, which and it's not set up that way, you add 10% interest. That 10% interest is on the $550. All right. So adding $55 to that, which would be 10%, means I now owe $605. So I pay again. And you'll notice 605 minus 450 is $155. All right. I take that $155 and I add 10%, which is $1,550, meaning I now owe $170.50. All right. I make one more payment and notice now the button is done again because it says my loan is down to zero. I don't owe anything anymore. There's not really much of anything I can do right now. So let's go back and let's change this. So I'm going to click clear and I'm going to put in here, I don't know, BMO Harris Bank loan. Okay. And let's say that from them, I borrow $1,500. I'm not going to make the same checks. I've already shown you when you put nothing in the name, what happens. When you put nothing in the amount, what happens. And when you put, if you don't choose either one of these buttons, what happens. But now I'm going to choose long-term loan. And I'm going to say create loan. And again, now the button becomes enabled. When you make a long-term loan, it's $200 per payment. So notice I went down to $1,300 here. But then on whatever you owe after that, it's 5%. So now rather than owing 1,300, it's 1,365. And I'm going to make a few more payments. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you'll notice it goes down a lot slower than our short-term loan because we're making smaller payments. Let's make 5 more. All right, there's 3. So after the last payment, I'm down to owing $10.87 after adding $1.08 or $1.09, whatever it is. All right. Now, after the interest, it's $11.41. So when I make the last payment, again, that gets grayed out, and now I'm down to zero. That's how this program is supposed to work. So let's take a look at our requirements for it. And again, this is where I'll give you some hints. All right. So using your textbook, lab, and lecture notes, as it says here, complete the following. Call it Hot 6. Make sure that you put it out in your GitHub repo. If necessary, send me an invite. All right. So write a GUI for a loan company. There's 2 types of loans. You already saw this, short-term and a long-term. Short-term loans, Every time you make a payment, that make payment for a short-term loan should subtract $450 from your current balance. There's a hint. After you figure out your new balance, you should add 10% to that. All right. And that is going to end up being, come on, where are you here? There we go. That will be apply interest. So every time you make a payment, whether it's a short term or a long term, you will subtract what either $450 from what you owe or $200 from what you owe. And then you'll take that new balance and you will add to it either 10% or 5%. All right. Now, this is a little different than the way I told you it was going to be because I was highly encouraged by my counterparts to give the same test they gave when they taught the class last semester. All right. So there is an interface here. And you might say, that's confusing. I don't even know how to make an interface. Yes, you do. Because basically what you have to do is when you get into, where you bring up your program, all right, you'll want to come in here and do something like this. All right, you'll want to come in and you will want to right mouse click on the name of your project, choose add, and go to new item. And one of those things that's in there is an interface. Okay, so you will create that interface. So I'm going to even show you how you can create that interface. Now you're supposed to call it iLoan, but I've already got one called iLoan. So I'm going to just call this one iLoan2.cs. So it's, just because otherwise it's not going to work. All right, so there it is. All right, so how do I do this? Well, it's already got the namespace. All right, the first thing I remember, we don't want the word internal in there. We want the word public in there. All right. And then our interface is actually fairly simple. Let's just take a look at what it says in the test here. It's supposed to have these three fields. All right. A name, a type, and a balance. And you'll notice all three of these fields, all right, all three of them are get only. All right, so let's put that in there. So we will have a string, name, and it's got just a get in it. We've got another string for the type, and that's got just a get in it. And finally, we've got a double for the balance, and that's got just a get, for the balance, and that's got just a get in it. All right, that is it as far as get out of here. So that right there that you see is this on the bottom. So there's two more things. There's a make payment and there's an apply interest. All right. Well, there we go. And another void apply interest. That's it. That's the whole thing right there. After you create your interface, that's basically what you have to put in it. I don't want people saying, well, I don't know how to create an interface. I just showed you. All right. Now, when you come in and you create your short term and your long term, all right. So I'm not going to write those, but I'm going to put in here, add a class. And I already have one called short term loan. So I'm just going to call this ST loan. .cs. That would be the short-term loan. All right, so yours will be short-term loan. Again, this will be public. And this will now implement your iLoan like that. Now, if you notice, whoops, I'm sorry. That's right, but I put it in the wrong place. That's got to go here. All right. Now it's giving me an error. Why? Because it's saying, hey, all this stuff in here that you were supposed to go and add, you didn't add any of it. So in other words, in here, I'm just going to put these in as comments. You have to add the name, the type, and the balance. All right. Well, how do you add those? Well, there's different ways. The other thing too is you're going to want in here a full arg constructor. And you're going to want to actually put the code in here for your make payment. Yeah, the code goes in there. And for your apply interest. And that code will go in there. Now I'm getting errors because I'm not going to give you that code. All right, now I'm going to copy this. Then you're going to come in and you're going to create a long term. So I'm going to go in here and again, add a class. And since I already have one called long-term loan, I'm going to call this LT loan.cs. All right. Again, I'm going to want to come in here and implement iLoan. Just like we did before. All right. And I'm going to want to come in here and do the same stuff. Add all that stuff as shown. The difference is going to be when I make a payment in a long term, it's going to be 200. When I make a payment in a short term, it's going to be 450. When I apply interest in a short term, it's going to be, I think that was 10%. And for the long term, it was 5%. All right. Okay. That's pretty much the explanation right here. Then your interface should look like this. I've already shown you that with mine. So you should give the title of bank loan. You should rename it. If you want to just call it FRM bank loan or FRM loan, that's fine. You will again have a group box here, and I'm going to be fairly picky. I want it to look like this. I don't care what coloring or none that you use, but I want the group box. I want all of your controls named, and they should be named appropriately. This should be like LBL name, LBL amount, LBL type, BTN create loan, RAD short term, RAD long term, TXT amount, TXT name, etc. And then for our managed loan, again, this would be something like LBL name in here, and it's totally okay to do that. If it doesn't like the same name, then call it, LBL name 2, whatever. All right, LBL amount 2, make payment. Now, I was working on a program where I couldn't go in here and actually add these for various reasons. This is a button and this is a button. This should say clear. This should say exit. I want to say that again. This is our make payment button. This button should say clear. This button should say exit. And they should both work. So when you clear, you basically want to clear everything that's in here and clear this, and clear this. All right. When you click exit, it's our old exit program or not that allows you to create, to exit the program. So as it says, the first blank button is clear. The second blank button is exit. Both should work. Once a loan has been applied or created, you can make payments on it. And I just demoed that for you. All right. The program displays an error message if either a negative loan amount is entered or no loan amount, or a non-numeric loan amount, or nothing in the name. If you want, you can use the validator class to do that, but you don't have to. If you want to, you can, but you don't have to. I also put a couple right here. I put, if you look here, this is hyperlinked right there, and it's hyperlinked right there. Couple resources on how to do interfaces. So the make payment, as it says, subtracts the amount from the balance. The apply interest takes that new balance after you did the make payment and either adds to it 5% of the new balance or 10%. So here's the grading. You get 1 point for laying out the interface so it looks like this. 6 points. That's how important this is getting to be. I want the accept button set to your make payment button. I want the cancel button set to your clear button, which will be here. Oops, let me plug that in. Hold on a second. All right. I want the form renamed. You can call it, like I said, FRM loan or something like that. The title should be set as shown, and the tab order should be configured right there. All right. The names for your controls and your variables should follow naming conventions. I already mentioned those. Labels with LBL, text boxes TXT, buttons BTN, etc. All right, the program allows you to create a loan as described on page 1. So I want you to set up your short-term loan class, that's 10 points. Your long-term loan class, that's 10 points. The program allows the user to make payments as described. So you want to make sure that you add to both of these classes, both a make payment method and a calculate interest method. You'll notice if you add these, that's 10, 20, 30, 40, that's 46. Almost 50% of the test is right there. When the loan is paid off, display an appropriate message. Don't let the user keep going. All right, so they're getting money back. That makes no sense. The program should display an error message, not only if the user enters a negative loan amount, but as I mentioned, if there's nothing there, if it's non-numeric, and if this is empty. All right, you should now be smart enough. You should now all be disciplined enough, talented enough, etc., that you understand validation. All right. The program displays all monetary amounts as currency. The interface is set up. I gave you those 10 points. Okay. So for the short term, as it says, has fields. Both of these are the same. They both have fields for the name of the loan and the balance of the loan. They both have a full arc constructor. They both have properties for the name and type, which are both string, for the balance, which is a double. They both implement the make payment method. They both implement the apply interest method. That's all I can give you. I mean, I can't think of any more than that. All right. I will be here sitting at the computer. It is 8:25. I will be sitting here till approximately 3 o'clock. I have to go out for an appointment. I did not think we were going to have the test today. I thought it was going to be last week. So I will have limited email ability between 3 and 5. I will check, and if where I'm going, if I have the ability to answer emails, I will answer them immediately. Otherwise, when I get back home at 5, I will. All right. I will be up until 9 p.m. this evening. So if you have questions, please ask them by then. Please make sure that you save your project out to your GitHub repo, either an existing one or a new one. And if it's a new one, make sure I get an invite. All right. If you have any questions on anything as you're going through this, please ask. All right. Again, that's all I can think of telling you. I will talk to you tomorrow when we will go over chapter 18. Have a good day and good luck on the test. See you tomorrow.